Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lesbian Talk. And unlike the last ones, I'm not in America anymore.
Why are you saying that as like that's a make funnable song to sing?
I don't know. I
Like,
just
bah ha
want
ha! I paid for my lunch. How? In pounds, motherfucker. And I'll be like, I paid in dollars. And you'll be like, ha ha ha.
you will not have to do that forever, we hope.
Well, no, because if everything goes well. Oh, you know what? I said this on Twitter, so I might as well go ahead and say it for reals on the podcast. I will actually be leaving the state of Maryland at the end of June. I will be living up in Philadelphia for a few months. And then hopefully, maybe by the autumn, I'd like everything to be settled by before Thanksgiving, which is late November. But you never know; things can come up. But by then, we are hoping to be coming to you live from Manchester. Hopefully,
Manchester, England.
yeah, not like
But the
Manchester, New Hampshire or anything. Because
but
fuck
for
New Hampshire.
the few months when you're up in Philadelphia, audience, if you hear in the background anyone going like, rah, 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 rah," that's just Omega's father
He doesn't
being.
say Berber Jibber Jen. He doesn't sound like that either.
Well, your impersonation of your dad doesn't sound like him either.
Well, that's true. No, I'm going to be living in my sister's old room at my parents' house. And let me just tell you what, like, yeah, I know you're like, oh no, the disgrace of moving back into your parents' house. My mother is so incredibly overjoyed about this. Like, seriously, like, she's like a puppy. She's like, oh, and when you're back here, we could do things and stuff, and we could put this in the room and things, and she's just so happy about it, and it's really cute.
Yep.
And
And
I'm very appreciative that they're letting me live there for a few months and not charge me any kind of rent or anything. So
yeah, it was just the timing that between leaving Maryland and moving to hopefully moving to Manchester that there was a few months space.
yeah,
So
my lease goes up at the end of June, and you can prorate by month, but it's really expensive to do so, and I feel like doing that, and
yeah, cheaper to just do the full year.
right. Plus, my parents gave me their old TV. They had a flat screen with like the internet connection and everything, but it has a few dead pixels in the corner, so they got a new one. My mom's like, "Oh, we could just put it up in your room, right? I mean, you could use that, right?" I'm like, "Well, it's internet ready. It's got an HDMI hook in. Yeah, I could do that."
Yep. And whenever we're there, sorry, whenever Omega is there, Kippers the cat will still not be there. He is living in Shrewsbury, Pennsylvania. But he will be joining us in Manchester. We've looked into the legalities, and we can bring him over the Atlantic to Manchester. We don't
Now,
know
he
when
won't
that'll
be
be.
happy about it, but
Well, he'll probably be asleep for most
he'll be
of the
like,
trip.
"Meow." Well, once he wakes up and finds out that we tricked him, that we said we were going to, the movies, and actually now he's in another country, he's gonna be pissed.
Well, I don't think he'll be any more pissed than when he went to Pennsylvania. Although he'll probably have more muscle cramps.
Yeah, that's true because of the flight and everything.
Yeah, because he'll have been stuck in his box for a long time. However, whenever Omega is over in Pennsylvania, you might have another animal making noise because her parents have a dog.
Oh yeah, they got a little puppy Jordy, and I think I put a picture of him up before, and I'll put another one up during this part. But he is a boxer bulldog mix with maybe a little pit in there. We're not really sure, and he is just about the sweetest dog ever, and they are completely in love with him, and it's so cute.
Yes, he didn't try to eat my face, which is always a plus.
Yeah, well, they're training him not to jump up, and he can only sit on people if they're sitting on the floor. They don't want him to learn to jump up on people, or because my mom watches a lot of the dog whisperer, so you know.
I'm fine with him jumping up on me, but you
Yeah, I
know,
know, but that's how they want to train him, so that's fine.
yeah, yeah,
Well, you can just sit on the floor and play with him and use your Disney princess powers.
yeah. I got the animal manipulation. I didn't get any of the rest of the stuff from them. But anyway, the word from last time when we were in Canada was great.
Tatsuo! Kaneda!
And in case you're wondering, I have not finished reading the book about the London Underground. I read part of it on the way back, but I spent most of the time being annoyed that I was in a plane for so long.
Mm, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Well, do you know what? On my way back, it was a little the plane was a bit bigger and it was double rows on both sides, and I had the window seat, and then the plane shut and no one sat next to me because the flight was half full. It was like euphoria.
So you got yourself a double seat. That's
I
quite
did
cool.
because I could. It was the kind where you could put up the middle armrest.
Well, I had one of the small ones going, and I was sort of stuck with people on both sides of me.
I'm sorry.
But it was okay. I talked for a while to this guy who was going to Phoenix, and
Why do you always talk to strangers? You know, in America we don't do that.
actually, it was a very, very, very friendly flight. You know, the stewardess was talking to all of the people in the area that I was in, because there was one seat and there was only one stewardess, so she was sitting there in the front, and she was just talking to us, and I was like second or third row from the front, so I was one of the area that she would talk to all the time, and it was fine, and it became a very, very personable flight.
Well, that's good, I guess. See, I'm from Philly. I'm from like the north, and on public transit, you don't talk to people. You put your headphones in, you read your book, and I'm still like that these days. Someone like tries to talk to me, I'm like, okay, that's cool, cool story, bro. Back to my life, which you're not involved in, because I'm horrible and I hate people.
Well, this one was coming from Canada, so I think
Oh,
there was a lot of
Canadians,
Canadians,
yes.
and I rescued a lady from the bathroom.
How'd you rescue her?
Well, I was there waiting for to get into the toilet, at the end of the back of the flight, and this little old, I think she was German lady, she got herself trapped in there,
Oh no,
and so I had to jam the wrench the door open.
you saved her.
Yes,
Da-da-da-da-da.
she was hitting the door trying to get out and everything. She was worried, and even I had trouble getting out of it when I'd finished. I told the stewardess that the the toilet needs replaced, but the door does. And then during turbulence, every single time the plane shuddered a bit, and because it was a small plane, it shuddered quite a bit. The baggage thing sort of swung open. The baggage thing right above my head swung open.
Good Lord, you're lucky you made it there in one piece. Were you
Well,
nervous?
a little bit, but I just came to the conclusion that this airplane was being held together with good intentions.
And prayers.
Yep.
Oh, and you know what, honey? That was great that you didn't die. See what I did there?
Great, 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 great. Okay. So what can we say about the word great?
It makes me think of Lucky Charms. Or not Lucky Charms. God damn it. It makes me think of Frosted Flakes. They're great.
Oh, they're called Frosties in the UK.
Do you still have a tiger?
Yeah, Tony the Tiger.
Okay.
Still voiced by Thula Ravenscroft.
Well, I was really worried that you guys would like, put something different and British in there, like it's Reginald the Badger. He loves his Frosties. Why, they're very enjoyable, or something like that.
They're very enjoyable.
Or like, well, my good Tufts, the Queen sure does love him, or like some weird British thing like that.
You are a silly head sometimes.
Yeah, I guess that I am.
But for great, when I think of the word great, I think of Alexander the Great for some reason, or Alfred the Great.
Great Scott.
Oh yes, Christopher Lloyd as well. So, I wonder who the Scot of Great Scott was.
Macbeth?
Macbeth was his name. What?
No, he was the Scot that they were saying about. He's Scottish. Maybe it was David Tennant.
Mad. I think the term predates David Tennant.
Probably. Or did you mean like Scott, like a person named Scott?
Well, the term Great Scott, it must be referring to someone.
My friend Scott Reichert? Maybe?
Possibly, although I think it would probably be someone from ages ago. In fact, while we're talking,
If you know, write the show.
I am going to find out.
Of course you are. So great. There's not really... See, this is one of those really uninteresting words that we have to kind of verbally fumble about for a while because we really don't know what else to say. So while you're looking that up, would you be okay if I introduce the next part?
You could introduce the next one, although I could have talked about Alfred the Great. He never actually burned any cakes.
Cakes?
You ever heard of Alfred the Great?
I have never heard of Alfred the Great.
Alfred the Great is, if I recall correctly, the only British monarch to have the word great behind his name. He was one of the ones who fought against the Viking invasion of England, against the... See, at that point, England was put into two big areas. You had the English part and you had the Danelaw, which is the Vikings. And a lot of myths came about him. He wasn't the first king of United England, but he was a little bit before that. But
King Arthur was the first.
No, there's no verifiable evidence that there was a King Arthur.
Oh, I read it in a book. It must be true. Don't you even know your own history?
But Alfred allegedly burned some cakes because he was spending his entire time. The myth goes that he had been defeated and then he was off in hiding, and he offered to look after this woman's cakes while that she was cooking while she did some work, in exchange for letting him stay by her fire. But he spent the entire time thinking about strategies and how he can win the day, and he burned the cakes. And then the woman came in and she was like, "Oh no, you let the cakes burn, you motherfucking idiot!" And she beats him up, and then she discovers that he's the king. And
how did she discover this? This is like, his hoodie slips and his crown's visible. She's like, "Oh no, the king!"
Well, apparently one of his friends came and found him and was like,
well, hey,
"Don't you know that's the king? We're going to execute you for that." And then King Alfred allegedly is like, "No, you can't execute her because I did burn the cakes," and that shows how great Alfred was.
Well, you get called great for just that, Jesus.
Well, it's a myth. Alfred was apparently good enough to be referred to as great. Great doesn't mean good.
Yeah, it's true. He could have just been really fat.
Oh
yeah, the king's pretty great, if you know what I mean.
Great in bed. Now, according to Wikipedia, so this is obviously going to be completely true.
Yep.
The origin of the expression is uncertain, but the likely source is the American Civil War commander Winfield Scott, known to his troops as Old Fuss and Feathers.
A stupid name.
He weighed 300 pounds in his later years and was too fat to ride a horse. An 1861 edition of the New York Times included the sentence, "These gathering hosts of loyal freemen under the command of Great Scott."
Yeah, again, because they didn't want to say he's fat.
Yeah, it looks like it. And as early as 1871, Great Scott had entered the thing because in an issue of The Galaxy, I don't know what that was, the expression itself was quoted as, "Great Scott," he gasped in stupefaction.
You know what's awkward sometimes when you read older books where they use the verb ejaculate as like instead of exclaim, and it makes things awkward. Like when I was a little kid, I read, I think it was a British book, and I really didn't understand what was going on. I was like, why? Because I had health class. I was like, why are they having sex right then? Why did the author feel the need to describe that?
It's
so awkward.
It's one of it demonstrates how language changes.
Yeah.
It's a bit like my suggestion of re-editing Fight Club to have it replace the word fight with the word wank.
You'd have to talk to the author, and as much as he's still alive, probably he'll say no.
No, I just mean it's a bit like that. If you replaced it with the word wank, you'd get a similar effect.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point. But anyway, should I introduce the question that we've got?
Okay.
So we've actually had someone, how I always say, if you know, write the show. Someone has written the show, and that would be our friend Mr. Mendo.
Mr. Mendo. He played a director in my Maniac Nurses Find Ecstasy review.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I think he also turned up in my Sextet review, being one of the guys who was using N-word privileges.
Because he's pretty much, does a lot of things with everyone. If you don't know who Mr. Mendo is, he has a show called Hack Attack. Actually, I think he has a few other different shows now. You can find him on the Agony Booth. But he writes, okay, so here's my lesbian talk question. During the rare instances that lesbianism has been depicted in the mainstream media since it came into existence, lesbians have typically been depicted as having a rather segregationalist attitude towards society as a whole, and the queer community in particular. I know some women in the army who had come to accept such an attitude as gospel, but knowing that the military isn't such a good barometer for society, what effect do you think such portrayals have had on the modern lesbian thought and culture? See, he thought of that while you guys were eating Pop-Tarts. That's how Mendo rolls.
I got the feeling his question might not be entirely fair.
Fair?
Yeah, because the majority, when it comes to LGBT groups, are gay men. They're the ones who people think of when they think LGBT. They're the ones who generally, when it comes to news stories, they're the first ones people ask about. They, like it or not, they're the ones that are treated as though they are the whole, even though they are far from it. So lesbians are sort of our minority within the minority. It doesn't matter about numbers. It's just, when it comes to societal representation. And whenever you've got a minority of a minority, the minorities inside that minority of a minority, three minus, we got minorityception here.
Wow.
They are treated as being more indicative of the whole of the minority, than if the same thing would happen with the majority. Basically, you can have the same number of lesbians acting in some shitty way. You can have as gay men acting in some shitty way, but lesbians are considered to be more noteworthy because you don't judge the whole of gay men based on a couple of people in that group, because they're the majority of the minority.
Well, some people do because I think when people are like we don't want gay marriage, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and there's gonna be bum fucking and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you hypocrites, because you watch lesbian porn. I mean, what do you think we're doing? Just not wanting to get married? No, seriously.
Well, that's a little
I think
different.
if people thought of lesbians first when they thought about gay marriage, I think a lot fewer people would object.
I think
Amen.
that's entirely possible given how a lot of guys think. Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. The it's like this. Whenever, okay, have you noticed that the smaller the minority, the more likely that they are going to get some sort of a bad reputation, whether it's deserved or not.
Like
Like,
bronies or furries or something.
well, I'm thinking more of okay, if you're gonna have if you're gonna have like a shithead trying to say that someone is a criminal, or just what sort of person will they think of? A minority or a majority?
Oh, if they're going to be talking about criminals and they're white, well, if they're a white person, they're going to be talking about an ethnic minority, probably.
And that is mostly because the majority are the ones who decide what is going to be the societal narrative. The majority's POV usually rules. Now, when it comes to LGBT things, the majority are gay men. So therefore, the minority of the minority, the lesbians, are going to be more likely defined by the shitheads in their community who are very loud. But then gay men being the majority, they don't get defined by their
Oh,
shitheads.
like people always like, goddamn man hating lesbians, and I'm like, I don't hate men. There are many
Yeah,
men that I like my
yeah.
dad or my Uncle Phil.
But when you're dealing with the majority of the majority, the heterosexuals, they will define gay people via what they see as the worst minority in gay men in the same way.
That's a good point.
Does this make sense?
Yeah.
I have no backing in trying to explain this sort of stuff in sociology or
Well,
anything. I'm just trying to use
also
my own
could it be
terms.
that like people think that lesbians aren't as involved because the face of AIDS protesting, which became kind of the new gay rights movement in like the 80s and 90s, was mostly gay men because it was mostly gay men that were suffering and dying from AIDS. Or not,
Possible.
and not, I mean, not to say of all people, I mean of the gay community.
It's possible. Minorities have a tendency to be defined by the majority, and it's usually the majority chooses the loudest and the most distinct of the minority, and the most distinct and loudest is quite often ones who the majority sees as distasteful, for regardless of whether they are or not.
Oh. So what effect do we think such portrayals have had on modern lesbian thought and culture?
Certain amount of it is going to be snake eating its own tail, because they'll see that's what the societal view on lesbianism is, so therefore they will try to live up to that. Other ones are going to be all like, that's stupid, I'm not like that, a la you.
I think it takes all kinds. I mean, just like you can't say that, like, I don't know, all case managers have certain, personality traits, or all baristas do things and stuff, because there's going to be baristas who do, who don't, who do to a certain degree and stuff like that. Like, it takes all kinds. Like, yeah, I've met on the internet like lesbians who are like, I hate all men ever, even those who haven't been born yet, and I will kill them because they're oppressing me, even though they haven't been born yet and stuff. And I'm like, no, really, I think you have too much free time on your hands. But then, like, there will be other lesbians who are like, I don't get into activism because, I have a good job and I just live my life and my partner and I, we just do things and stuff. Or, then you'll have like young lesbians who might be like, oh, well, I want to get involved in activism, but not the way that my parents' generation do. I want to do things and stuff. And, so everybody's going to be somewhere on a continuum.
Yeah.
See, I'm not a good person to ask because besides like you and a few other people, I don't really like talk to any other lesbians because I don't like people.
That's because you hate people. You think they're evil.
Well, no, it's because I go to work and then, I come home and there's the internet and stuff, and sometimes I go out, sometimes I don't.
So in short about Mendo's question, I'm not entirely convinced that lesbians do have separatists any more than any other group. I feel it's probably a stereotype that is magnified by their position.
Well, what about radical feminists? Aren't they like? Don't they all try? Even if they're straight, don't they want to be lesbians because then they can hate men a lot?
Rad femmes, not all rad femmes. There are a big contingent of rad femmes who are utter shitheads, though, and they, not all, but quite a lot of them are who claim to be politically lesbian or.
Well, politically, that doesn't work. You can't do that. I can't do that. I can't be politically black or like, I don't know, like politically Buddhist. I mean, doesn't really. You can't do that.
Well, they have a tendency to
gay.
They have a tendency to define things for their own benefit. They're rad femmes, like a lot of very sad groups in history, are an example of what happens. One of two results when a minority gets shit on by the majority. Either the members of that minority try to stop that from happening again to other people, or they want to do it to others. And the rad femmes, sometimes what they do is punching upwards, and quote unquote women being annoyed at quote unquote men. I'm sorry, guys, that is punching upwards because of the differences in on average societal power between the two groups. But rad femmes, they also punch downwards, which is punching at they're cisexual people punching downwards at trans people.
That's nice.
It's it's like gay people getting annoyed at homophobia, and so therefore punching at literally punching at straight people. It's like the difference between a gay person punching at heterosexuality and a heterosexual person punching at homosexuality. There is severe amounts of societal power.
It's a disparity. I mean.
Yeah.
I see.
So yeah, the rad femmes, if any minority that is annoyed at actual injustice and it limits itself to punching at the majority and the powerful, I got no problem with them. And no matter what, as long as they don't actually hurt people. But the second you punch at the less powerful, you're a scumbag.
Yeah. Like if you punched at a child or something, metaphorically speaking. Well, yeah. The first lesbian exposure that I had in the media was Xena Warrior Princess, so I guess that just goes to show.
Dun, dun, dun. But anyway, we should have to talk about something silly now. Let's talk about Ottawa Comic-Con.
Woohoo, Comic-Con.
Because we both went there, and my glasses did not survive the trip.
You got beaten up by a space marine for the honor of the Emperor, did you not?
Yes, he was teaching me a lesson, dagnabbit. Because I'm evil.
Well, you're evil and blind now.
Well, it's, as you know, and other people don't know, you superglued my glasses together again. And
I was a hero.
They're still together, though they're very slowly falling apart.
Sorry. You can superglue them again. Do you have superglue in your land?
Yeah, I've got the same glue that you used, and part of them came off a couple of days ago, like a few hours after I arrived back, and I sort of glued it back on again. If they fall apart again, I will use them. I'm just waiting for my new glasses to arrive. Yeah, see what happened, guys, was we were filming some stuff for PME, delightful, wonderful PME, little skit stuff because, we were there with them at the convention. Then it was just us two. We were waiting for them to arrive. They were late, so we were like, what, can we film a skit with this Space Marine? And I ran over and he said that yes, he could film a skit with him.
His costume was really good, though, like really good.
Yeah, and we decided that he would smite me for the Emperor. So he hit me a couple times, and before this happened, I decided to put my glasses, hang them from my top, as I usually do whenever I'm not wearing them.
And I told you, why don't you just put them in the bag? You're like, no, I've got a plan.
I think you did that another time. But
No, I did that at the beginning, and you were like, I've got a plan. I was like, all right.
yeah, it usually works out okay. However, I was, even just before we actually did the skit, I was thinking I should probably give them to you, and I probably should have. Anyway, he pretended to hit me, and I pretended to get knocked over. My glasses flew off, and when my foot hit the ground from the second hit, they were not hitting the floor.
It went crunch.
Crunch, crunch, crunch.
But the lenses were okay, which was the good news, because that would have been a catastrophe.
Well, they're okay. They're able to go through them. There's a lot of crap on them now, and I don't think they're strong enough to even clean.
Mm. But we saw a whole bunch of stuff. Like we saw some really amazing cosplayers. You found a lot of fans found you.
Yeah, there's at least 6 or 7 or 8. And if you're listening to this and you said hi, hi again. I'm really glad you came up to say hi. It sort of made our day. We both got a kick out of that.
Although pretty much the best part was like people would come up and be like, "Oh my gosh, that is the best Demon Hagen cosplay I've ever seen." But what? Wait, and they realized it was you. That was great. I'll never get tired of seeing like people's eyes be like, "Wait, what? Oh my gosh!" Like because they're about to say, "Wow, I like Hagen too," or I like that guy with the glasses. And they realize it's actually you, and like they're talking to you. Everybody is so happy.
Well, apparently the same sort of thing happened to Justin at C2E2.
That's so cool.
Isn't it weird that, the completely forgot what I was going to say there. Or maybe I didn't, but it was embarrassing, so I'm not going to say it. Ha 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 ha.
Okay.
But yeah, Ottawa Comic Con was good. We were there on Sunday. We could have been there on Saturday, but we sort of had a flight.
So exhausted. We basically got up at like 3:30, 3:45ish. Got ready, got in the car, drove about an hour and a half down to Dulles International. Went through security, did the check-in, got on the flight at around 9, and got up to Canada around. Well, by the time we got through security, it was like 11:30. We were like, and then we'd have to drive like another hour and a half to 2 hours into Ottawa. And we're like, tomorrow. Yeah,
we instead just hung out.
Yeah, you had to go through double security too.
Yeah, why do we have to do that?
I don't know. The guy didn't mark something on my form, and they're like, "You have to go to special customs." We're like, "Uh-oh."
Yes.
Although the girl was really nice. The customs.
She was all, "I will eat your soul."
No, she was really nice. And the cool thing is, so when they interview you, like they have these special screens on their computer screen, so it looks black, but from the angle they're at, they can read it, so you can't see what they're up to. And I was like, "That's clever." A little bit worrying, but clever. But yeah, she was like, "When's the last time you were in Canada?" We're like, "Last month." "Why are you here?" "To see Robert." "Okay, what are you going to do? Go to Ottawa?" "That sounds cool." Yeah. That was the extent of our special interview. And she was like, "So you said you were bringing stuff into the country." I was like, "I got these snacks." And she's like, "Can I see them?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "We have the receipt and everything and stuff." She's like, "That's all right. All right, you can go. Have fun."
Yeah, she's like, "Do you have any alcohol?" And you said no, and I was like, uh-oh, because I thought that the cider we brought was alcoholic.
No, it wasn't.
Well, I know now. I didn't at the time.
Well, see, that's the thing is because in America, usually when people talk about cider, they don't mean the alcoholic kind. Like, that's not as popular. I mean, it's really popular now, but that wasn't always the way. So culturally, when we talk about cider, we mean the good old apple cider and cinnamon kind.
Well, over here, it's almost exclusively alcoholic.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But we saw a lot of cool stuff. There was a lot of great vendors. There was a small publishing house that was there, and we talked to them, and they were really great folks.
Yeah, they put out the book Pontypool, which I think is really, really good movie.
And I was like, "Look, honey, you like that movie." You're like, "You should buy it," which I hadn't intended on because it was like a special edition that was signed and numbered by the author, and it was like $30, and hadn't really intended to spend an extra $30. And you were like, "You should buy it, honey." I'm like, "Great, now I kind of have to." But I'm going to read it anyway.
I think you'll enjoy it.
You owe me $40.
I do owe you $40 because, well, I bought 2 albums from a Plague of Songs. I haven't listened to them yet. I bought the, there's this horror punk bands for like the Misfits, and I got one of theirs. Patron Saint of Plagues, that's it. I haven't listened to it yet. And I got three movies from this sort of little film production company, and they were all funky and stuff. And it's like, oh, look, they're putting out movies. I'm going to totally buy some of them.
Yeah, they've done like about a million movies, so.
What was the other thing about? Because this is,
You bought some kind of Star Trek figurine because it was
yeah.
$1, and then we filmed near their booth, so. And also, we ate fudge.
Yes, we did for one of the bits. It was fun. There's a lot of funky booth stuff about whenever I got back, several members of my family were annoyed that I didn't get them Nathan Fillion's autograph.
Well, like you had time to wait in line for a million years to get his autograph. We were working.
I know we were. I was all like, it was working. So I told them that, assuming I go to another convention, if I see him there, I will endeavor to get them. But, I will charge them for the cost of the autograph.
Yeah.
Because I told them
shit ain't cheap.
Cost $85 for Gillian Anderson. Don't know how much Nathan Fillion's would cost.
Yeah. Probably a lot. Like your soul. I don't know. It might not cost your soul, but so we got a lot of good footage. You did some interviews, so it was a good day had by all, I think.
Yeah, it was a funky thing. I really wish we'd got to interview the film production company.
Yeah, that's true. Oh well. Well, they'll be at another Canadian convention. Hopefully, Conman will get to them.
Yeah, I hope so. I bought 3 of their movies. I haven't watched them yet. I've only been watching like one movie a day since I got back.
Only? Oh no.
Yeah, my today movie is going to be Smitty, which Zed Regulus bought. The one about the dog.
Oh yeah.
Yesterday it was Ghosts of Sherwood. Day before that, I think it was The Miami Connection. So, I'm working through DVDs I've got.
Yay. So we're also going to be doing stuff again more. It's possible that I will be out at Phoenix next weekend, helping out and getting some footage done there. And then where are you going to be next month?
Next month, I'm not entirely sure yet. I might be over there. I might not be. I don't know.
Okay.
Things aren't set in stone,
So if you see us at a convention near you, don't be shocked.
Yeah, the couple of things have been floated about, Dallas and Florida and Phoenix and like California and stuff. Basically, if you go to a convention and we're there, hi, check our Twitters to see where we're going. Because we're hopefully going to go to a couple conventions in the next few months.
Yeah.
And this is why, hate to mention this, guys, after my next episode of Hagen, which will actually have been up for probably about a week or so, whenever this episode finally goes up, which is Last House on Dead End Street. After that, I'm going on a 2-month hiatus on Hagen reviews simply because I'm going to continue filming and making them. I just don't want to risk, because I'm away, not being forcing a hiatus midway. So I'm gonna continue making them and then start to put them up. And so hopefully when they do go up, there will not be a break in the thing, in the uploads. So, I mean, I have 2 episodes part edited from the 5th season, episodes 1 and 3. 3 we recorded whenever we were together. 1, which I have done the voiceovers for. I did that before I went away. And I'm filming the to-camera stuff for tomorrow.
Yay.
So things are coming. It's just going to be a couple of months between them. It's going to be the first time in about 18 months that I'm not having stuff up, a review up every 2 weeks.
So it'll be a nice rest for you.
Not really. I'm continuing making the videos. It just means that the uploads are staggered.
Good point.
But oh well. And when I come back to yours again, I'm gonna write the last episode of season 5. I'm gonna ask someone if they want to make it a crossover. And I've got to write a possible Con Bravo crossover. I got to write the Brocon one.
That one's gonna be fun if it happens.
Yes, I'm hoping it'll happen. Got to talk to them. But for any of you who are in Ireland, I will be at BroCon this summer. July 12th to the 14th, I believe. Check out brocon.info. I'm an official guest. I'm going to be doing a panel. I'm going to film an episode as part of the panel. I'm going to show the Forgive Me for Raping You review. I'm probably going to show the complete Chirpy. Probably.
Not Chirpy.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Guess what? Guess what time it is?
It is Nanowar time.
It is. And what song do we have this time?
Song by Nanowar, which I sent you, and I hope it's not a repeat.
Hold on. I'll find which one it is. It's Italian. It's in Italian.
That was indeed Nanowar, a song in 3 movements.
It was as Nanowar as it ever could get.
By the great composer Gatto Panzeri 666.
Does his name mean cat pants?
You might have called him that, I don't know.
Oh.
He'd probably look at you annoyedly if you said that.
I wouldn't say that to his face. I just want to know, know how, if you're in a band, sometimes people will take joke names.
Well, the Nanowar band guys all have joke names.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there's the only one whose nickname and the real name I can remember is Valerio, whose real name is Fabrizio Storch.
That's a pretty awesome name.
Yeah. But they're all nice guys. I would like to meet them again at some point. It'd be cool. Yeah. Maybe try to... I know that one of them lives in Madrid now, so if we're ever in Madrid, we could say hi.
That's cool. You could be like, hey, you don't know me, but I'm American.
But...
Okay, so, it is time for trivia, and Giovanni, are you with us? Yeah, boss, here I am. Sorry, I was watching a movie. Oh, that's cool. So, what trivia do you have for us today?
And is it movie related?
You know it's movie related. Obviously, if I give an intro like that, yeah, I was just watching a movie, I'm going to talk about something movie related. That's called setting the stage.
Is it about Watchmen?
No, it's not about Watchmen.
Is it about Doctor Who Dalek Invasion Earth 2266?
No, who's doing the trivia, you or me?
Is it about Hitler having 9,000 acres of Arizona desert?
No.
That's a myth.
Are you done?
No, never.
Well, anyway, because the new Star Trek movie came out this week, I thought we'd use a bit of Star Trek trivia. Now, in Star Trek 3, the villainous Klingons were originally going to be Romulans. It's true. They were changed because the makers didn't think the Romulans were as recognizable as the Klingons. So, probably not as evil.
Yeah, they probably would have been all like, oh man, I'm totally confused. Are these aliens who look just like Spock are like being evil and stuff? I don't understand. Oh.
Because Americans, like most mammals, are stupid. So, anyway, that's been my trivia fact of the day. I'll see you guys all next week.
Little does he know he's on a treadmill and he's actually not getting any further away.
Would you leave my lobster alone? Seriously? Somebody messaged the Omega Facebook to tell me to say hello to my lobster and tell him he's adorable. So there you go. Shows how much you know, Missy.
Well, I didn't know that because I don't have access to the Omega Facebook.
No, well, that's why I told you, but anyway. So now is a part of the show called One Time at the Store. If you're just joining us, if this is your first episode, I have worked the past 9.5 years at a large chain bookstore. I've pretty much seen it all, the amazingly stupid, the funny, the sad, and this story is one of them. So actually we were, this came about because on the Booksellers Facebook group, yes, we have one, we were talking about that awkward moment when you have to call out a customer order to let them know that the book came in and the person has since been deceased, or just kind of awkward stuff like that. And I mentioned something that happened at my first store. This was years and years and years ago. I went back to the break room, in my lunch break, and the police were there talking to my manager. And I figured we caught a shoplifter or something like that. And you know how nosy I am. Like, I want to know what's going on. But, I didn't say anything right then. And so when I was clocking out, I asked the manager, I said, hey, I saw the police were here. What happened? Is everything okay? Did we catch a shoplifter? And she told me that the police had responded the previous day to a successful suicide. And they found this person's body, and they had a few books on how to patient-assisted suicide, how to kill yourself, but like medically speaking. And it was a receipt from our store, and it was our bag and everything. And we checked in our records, and she'd actually special ordered the books and then come and pick them up in the store. And then obviously they were successful. And it was really sobering because we were like, whoa. And we couldn't figure out who put the order in because the terminal had been logged on by the manager at the beginning of the day, which means that any bookseller could have taken the order and stuff like that. But so we discussed, should we, tell people, we'll call a manager to make those kind of orders, but then, what's our legal culpability? I mean, these books are in print for a reason. So in the end, we didn't really decide to do anything about it, So if you ever do want to engage in doctor or patient-assisted suicide, you could order your books through my company, I guess. It was kind of sad, though.
Well, if someone wants to die, as far as I'm concerned, they should have the right to.
Yeah, I know, but they came in to get this book probably and, got rung up by the cashier. So I'm like, hi, how you doing today? Would you like our member card? Did you find everything you were looking for today? And, they're thinking, well, I don't need your member card because where I'm going, I'm not buying any more books, and it's just, it's sad.
Well, it's sad, but they're all deaths are sad.
Yeah. Which pretty much sets the stage for us to go right into this week's Doctor Who, actually, thematically speaking.
Yes, the name of the Doctor. Spoilers, this episode of Lesbian Talk will feature talk about Doctor Who.
Yes. So, actually, I think I might even call this episode The Name of the Lesbians. I think that will be good. But I was really going into this thinking, oh, this is going to be bad. They're going to reveal his name as something stupid like Aloysius or Maxwell or Bonzo Pants or something really stupid.
Or ha.
Yeah, or like it's something, in a weird unpronounceable Gallifreyan but actually, to give Stephen Moffat credit, this was a pretty damn good episode. I very much enjoyed it and I cried 2 times.
Well, I did not cry.
That's because you're soulless, dear.
It was squee-worthy though to see all of the old doctors turning up, although
I know, wasn't it?
It was really, really nice. I'm glad that it happened. Now the fact that they may or may not be in the 50th anniversary, I can feel better about that.
Yeah, that's true.
But the footage quite often was fairly comical looking.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, digital editing, but then again, isn't Doctor Who known for having really low budgeted special effects?
I really wish that Babel Color had not been forced by the BBC to take down his 10 Doctors from YouTube, because actually he was doing this like hour-long Doctor Who adventure where where Hartnell to Tennant all got together and battled like the Daleks, and
oh fuck, that's awesome!
And it was really, really cool. He what he did was, it was all very compressed. So he would take like bits from each one, and then he, frame by frame via Photoshop, he joined them together. You can see bits of it on YouTube how he did bits, but it was really spectacular. And honestly, he did better work at it than they did.
Oh man, I really want to see that now.
It was cool. There is one particular shot which is beautiful looking, where you've got the 5th Doctor just looking forward, having just stepped out of his TARDIS, and the 6th Doctor standing beside him just looks angrily towards the camera, and it's actually the 7th Doctor. And it's like, some of it looks terrible, but most of it looks better than the stuff they had in this.
Wow. Now I feel bad because I really want to see that.
Well, I got one of his videos saved, which is it's sort of a similar idea. It's retelling the story of the 5 Doctors, the 20th anniversary film, but it's a trailer for it if it featured all 10.
Nice. Okay, you send that to me after the show, and we'll.
Okay, but
we finally got to find out what the deal is with Clara, and I'm pleased. I was really afraid it was going to be something stupid like the power of love, and her heart was reaching across time and bullshit, but it was really good. I was sciencely impressed.
It was It was all utterly ridiculous and made very little sense.
No, I like it. It was cool.
How time stuff and rips and therefore goes through all of the very little makes. It's Stephen Moffat's way of doing things that.
No, it makes perfect sense actually, and here's the thing.
Scientifically
and plot wise, it makes perfect sense Because like, and I was thinking about this, considering that fanfic series that I'm always saying, that spin-off series I'm always saying I'm gonna write. Because I mean, think about it. Like, you know how there's been stuff in the audio adventures and in the books about how, pretty much the Doctor is a bound up knot in time. With all the paradoxes he's caused both deliberately and inadvertently, he's crossed some time stream, all this other stuff. All of, well, who couldn't be a time traveler and not be that, like bound up like that. And so, it's no wonder that his tomb is on some godforsaken planet where they hope that nobody will go. Because when his physical Gallifreyan body expires, what happens to that? What happens to that great big knot of time that, that time is flowing around kind of like a river with a stone in it? And I thought that was really neat. And I'm like, wow, I was thinking of doing something like that too. That's cool.
Well,
That's
I'd
smart.
argue that that logically, if he can survive sort of going time traveling and changing his own past and stuff like that, and time stream and all that, if he can survive all that, then when he dies, he'll just be a dead body that is
Well,
disintegrating
no, of course his
slowly.
body is disintegrated, but there's still that bit in time. It's kind of like you used to play Mage, right? In
Yeah.
in World of Darkness.
Yeah.
It's like when you used a lot of time magic, eventually, if you screwed things up enough, the tapestry would snap and you'd get hit with not even, like ungodly amounts of paradox, but, time itself sometimes had a habit of showing up and personally correcting things. Well, if time isn't sentient, in the Doctor Who universe, just because the physical body has died, what happens to all the residual energy? Not even energy, just that disturbance, that ness. And I think that was cool.
Well, it's quote unquote cool, and I agree with that, and it worked fine in the context of the episode. It's just as a scientific thing. If time travel is possible and the guy's going to survive, doing all the shit that he's done, then I don't see why that would be a thing that remains afterwards. Surely that should be around when he's actually doing shit.
Well, it is. It just doesn't have a physical form like that. It inhabits the Doctor, but if the Doctor's physical form is gone, it might be strong enough that it takes on a representation of its own. Ah,
Yeah, yeah, but
aha.
not. Yeah, but I'm just thinking, of scientific, logically and stuff.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
thinking as a sci-fi writer, and
yeah, that's perfectly fine.
mine's logic.
It's and Mage is entirely scientifically accurate, I'm sure.
Listen here, you.
Oh, I wonder. Nash commented on this. Paul McGann got screwed again because Paul McGann. Okay, John Hurt may or may not be playing the Eighth Doctor. He may or may not be playing the Ninth Doctor. He may or may not be playing 8.5, sort of stuck between the Eighth and Ninth Doctors. We're not entirely sure.
The
But
beta version of the Doctor.
but Paul McGann didn't even get to turn up in the sequence with all the previous Doctors.
That's
Even
true.
Tennant and Eccleston didn't turn up in the Clara sort of interacts with everyone scenes, even though they had they could have got David Tennant to film something for
They
that.
did
They
have
could have got,
Eccleston. He ran by.
yeah, they had him in the running past part, but
Oh,
not in the interacting with Clara at the actual places and times.
point. Although I do like her sitting there with like digital William Hartnell being like, no, take this TARDIS. It's gonna be awesome. Promise.
Well, she wasn't. It wasn't digital. That was some black and white footage that was colorized.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, obviously, like, she was made to look as though she was there. You know what I
I
mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah, and Babel Color, who did the Ten Doctors, he actually occasionally does work for the BBC. And I would not be surprised if he'd done that colorization. One of the things he does is colorize bits of black and white Doctor Who for his YouTube. And if it was Babel Color, I'm sorry, man, your stuff in generally is much better than that. Because the with the budget they had, with the time they had, with the stuff that they had, the connecting the bits of footage looked very rough indeed.
Yeah, but at least we have the technology to do that, honey.
Yeah, it's
First world problems.
and they were dealing with a bunch of different footages going into this one big thing. It's not even quite like Trials and Tribulations, the episode of Deep Space Nine, where the Deep Space Nine crew go back in time and sort of interact with the original series people.
Point.
Because the original series, they all had like high quality film stock for each episode, and they just had to recreate the scenes of one show and everything. With this one, they were taking shit from everywhere just to try and find something that did not look entirely embarrassing. And the film stock quite often like degraded or something. It's it's a thing I can easily forgive,
Yeah.
given that I can forgive the classic show for often looking like shit.
Yeah. But I was really worried when it looked like Jenny died. I was like, oh no, because they're lesbians and therefore they represent my relationship in some way, and it's sad when a
Well,
lesbian dies.
when she died, I thought of the double trope, the woman in refrigerator, which is,
Refrigerator?
well, it's usually used when with a heterosexual woman. A woman gets killed to force her partner to do something great in a story.
Oh, okay.
That's the woman in refrigerator trope. And so I was thinking that Madame Vastra would do something. The other thing I was thinking about is the bury your gays trope, which is kill the gay one first.
Yeah.
Although I have to wonder, why did Madame Vastra not disappear? Why she could not have been brought there if it wasn't for the doctor.
She
Would have
might
been.
have been the last one to disappear. Well, it's not because not brought there, but just not existing. Because remember, he saved Jenny in the Crimson Horror. That's why she disappeared.
Well, Madame Vastra, though, we never found out why exactly she woke up from the Silurian slumber thing. I'm guessing the doctor would probably have been involved, so that's why I was
Yeah, it
thinking
just
that
might
she
not have
probably should
happened
have vanished.
yet.
Honestly, if I was if I was in charge of that wee bit, what I would have liked to have done was having Madame Vastra and Jenny both vanish, like maybe Jenny first and then Madame Vastra, and then have Santarin attack the doctor and all.
Yeah, but he had to be having emotional times with Clara, so.
Tisk emotions.
And I'm sad. I'm sad that River Song's all dead and in a computer and stuff.
Why?
I don't know. It just made me feel sad for some reason. Because I was like, I was always here, and he's like, I know, I've always been able to see you. And he's like, why didn't you answer me? So basically, like, the doctor for God only knows how long has been haunted by River Song.
I know that several people would comment something along the lines of, yes, that's a fate worse than death.
And I don't even really know the character very well, but I mean, I kind of feel bad for her and everything. And she was like, I'm just gonna vanish and disappear now, I'm just saying. And I was like, oh.
You didn't see the story where she died, did you?
No.
It was the first story that she was in. It was Sounds in the Library with David Tennant.
Oh, so she died for reals then?
Yeah, she got killed at the end of the two-parter, and then
Oh.
she came. Then they sort of met her at different parts.
Oh, so I thought she was alive the whole. Okay, well, that makes it better then. So she was. We always knew she was dead.
Yeah, they're sort of meeting each other in the wrong order.
Confusing time.
What's really weird is I'm fairly sure that River Song mentioned the Fields of Trenzalore as one of the things they'd done together. So she was all like, oh, "Have we done that yet?" And then so the doctor she can work out where in the doctor's timeline they are, and I'm fairly sure that indicates that she was at Trenzalore, even though that's after she died. Moffat usually works these things out at least semi competently, so I'm guessing I'm probably missing something or looking too much into something.
That's possible. And we didn't have too many girls are made of emotions and I don't understand moments.
The poor Paul McGann, he didn't turn up in the running Doctor's Past, and he didn't turn up in the bits with Clara. They could have filmed something with him and Clara, on location, both in a green screen or something, and it probably would have been cheaper than doing all the digital stuff that they do with the other Doctors.
Yeah.
They could have done something. They could have done something with Sylvester McCoy that way as well. It's like,
well, honey, he might be busy doing Hobbit stuff.
possible.
Because weren't they all in like him and a whole bunch of other doctors were in Australia recently?
Yeah, 4 to 8. We're all hang out together doing cons, but yeah, but I think it might have been cheaper to get Sylvester McCoy to do something, even dress him up in his 1996 outfit, because honestly, except for the gray hair, he doesn't actually look much different. If you dyed his hair sort of brownish,
His face is more wrinkly.
a little bit, but if you compare, say, okay, he's like John Pertwee in the way that he doesn't seem to get older. You don't really notice it. Although if you put John Pertwee in Spearhead from Space against John Pertwee in Dimensions in Time, there's quite clearly a bit of a difference. But like Leslie Nielsen, he's just one of those guys who doesn't look like he's getting that much older.
That's a good point.
So I think they could have, with Colin Baker, Peter Davison, or Tom Baker, it would not have worked. But with Sylvester McCoy, it could have.
Why does the Great Intelligence hate the Doctor so much? That was never really clarified. It's like, I hate the Doctor because of pain and torture and things.
Because Great Intelligence was defeated by the Doctor when he was defeated by the second Doctor twice and defeated by the 11th Doctor 3 times.
Oh, I thought it would be something better than that.
Well, great intelligence is a Lovecraftian god. It is Yog Sothoth,
Oh.
and it belonged in a previous universe, and then it became when this universe happens, it became the great intelligence, and it constantly tries to. It's just a disembodied intelligence who can manipulate stuff.
Oh. Because it, like, made this whole big thing, like, oh, what about all the Daleks, the Cybermen, and everyone else he's killed? So I thought it was going to be like a mission and kind of like, I'll restore the world to white kind of thing.
I really wish whenever he was referring to the dead people the Doctor had killed, he really should have mentioned either. Well, he mentioned the guy from Dinosaurs in a Spaceship, which was just why the fuck would he give a shit about
And what
that guy?
about Adric?
Yeah, they should have mentioned like things that were slightly more that are A, famous. Okay, Daleks and Cybermen are famous, but the Daleks and Cybermen, you're hardly going to sway someone to your side by saying, "Look, he
Oh
killed a
no,
bunch
all
of."
those poor innocent Daleks.
Yeah, it's hardly you're hardly going to sway someone. So should have mentioned something that's a bit more grey, a tiny bit more grey. Let me think, like the Ice Warriors that the Second Doctor calmly sort of he hacked into their computer thing and he got them to fly into the sun, an entire fleet full of Ice Warriors.
Wow.
Something like that.
It's a bit less ambiguous.
Well, make it a bit more ambiguous because the Ice Warriors, unlike the Daleks and Cybermen, they're not all bad. They are. They were even shown to be heroes in one story. They're one of the. They're just an alien race. Unlike the Daleks and Cybermen, they're not monsters. They're just an alien race, like
That's
the
true.
Draconians.
That's a good point.
So I would have preferred that. Although we got a name dropping for the Valiard.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, and the Valiard. I was like, booyah, the Valiard.
And if you haven't seen Trial of a Time Lord, I forgive you because it's not that good, but it does have Colin Baker, so you need to watch it anyway.
Yay. I will try to show this episode to my mom. I know she'll be really happy to see John Pertwee.
Well, you can just tell her that John Pertwee. There's some footage of John Pertwee turns up, and it's like, and so she'll be all squealing for a couple of moments.
Well, see, this is what I've been talking about all season. Like now, we get the impression that he is someone who has lived with all of those lives.
Yeah.
Like before, he's always like, Clara's the only thing important to me, the only companion I've ever had. Amen.
Well, to be fair, Russell did that about Rose as well. It's annoying.
I love you, Rose, more.
You really wish the Doctor would not be affected so deeply by things. In the original series, and maybe this is because of an artifact of the time of the show was made, I really got the impression that the first 7 Doctors, whenever you regenerate, you are stuck in a mode. And you don't really have character development beyond that. But then what happens to you in your one life sort of affects how you regenerate for the next life, and then you're stuck in that mode. Like, for instance, the first Doctor, even to the end, was fairly severe and not very nice. But then he regenerated.
He was always threatening to take his granddaughter, a fellow Gallifreyan, mind, and Ian and Barbara, his companions. Well, he didn't like them very much either. Like literally every episode, he threatened to leave them and tried to leave them like 15 times.
Yeah, and even so, when he regenerated, he became the much more personable and sort of nicer Second Doctor. And then the Second Doctor was executed, so he was sort of left as John Pertwee. But then when John Pertwee was got rid of, John Pertwee sort of the Fourth Doctor was a reaction to him, the Third Doctor being trapped on Earth for so long. So he basically sort of burst out effervescently, and then by the end of the Fourth Doctor, he'd lived for so long, he sort of burst out all of his energy. So the Fifth Doctor was a lot more quiet. Then Fifth Doctor was so nice and got so put upon for being so nice that the Sixth Doctor was a reaction against that by being loud and arrogant and full of himself.
Awesome. You missed awesome.
Yes, and then the Sixth Doctor, when he regenerated, because he was so bombastic, the Seventh Doctor was very, very calculating and sort of worked things out in advance. Well, the Sixth Doctor would walk in there and yell villain and point at the baddie. Seventh Doctor would have already arranged the villain's death off screen 3 seasons ago, and just walks in to make to watch the last of his plan happen. But then Seventh Doctor dies because of what he's been such a chess master. The Eighth Doctor's reaction against that, he's much more sort of, for want of a better word, he's much more human. It's in those ways I really like that they were reactions against each other.
And Matt Smith is happy because David Tennant was a whiner. I don't want to die and regenerate like I've done all the other times.
Yeah, it's particularly a problem with 9 and 10. They're not reactions against each other. They're very, very similar. The only difference is really the performance. You could say the same thing with the 11th Doctor, though, because Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat both said they see the Doctor as you write the Doctor exactly the same regardless of incarnation, and I'm like, that's bullshit, because William Hartnell would not do the same shit as Peter Davison.
Exactly.
They would not say the same shit. I think the example I used in an episode of 20 Who Review was, that's like writing a guy exactly the same before and after traumatic brain injury. They're very, very different.
That's true.
The giant TARDIS was like the opposite of...
That was kind of cool.
Back in the Time Meddler and with William Hartnell, one of my favorite Hartnell stories, you've got this wonderful little...
I remember what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Do you reckon in the 50th anniversary that Rose is going to mix it up with Clara? Because I could so see Clara beating her up.
Well, I hope Clara punches her.
Would it make all your dreams come true?
I hope anyone punches Rose. But in the Time Meddler, the Doctor messes around with the meddling monk, who's another Time Lord. The first Time Lord we actually see in the series, apart from the Doctor and Susan. And he messes with his TARDIS to make it shrink. I got the feeling that whatever the Doctor did to fuck up the meddling monk's TARDIS, it's very similar to what happened in Trenzalore with his TARDIS, just in reverse.
Yeah. That was kind of neat, though. That the TARDIS became all pig and was his tomb.
Yeah, I want to know where the vines came from.
Well, the planet had vines. What do you want?
Yeah, but the place was locked. If there's vines going in there, that means the Doctor's tomb did not need to be opened with any words.
Maybe the vines were already inside.
I suppose there are rooms full of all sorts of shit in there.
Yeah, like it broke out of somewhere.
Maybe if they'd had like that as a two-parter, they could have had the first part getting into the TARDIS, and the second part you could have had, having to go through all the rooms to try and get to the Doctor's sort of tomb part.
Yeah, but they've been wandering about the TARDIS for so much this season, so I'm kind of glad they didn't.
Well, I'm just thinking you could do it's a survival horror thing. Remember, I complained in the Journey to the Center of the TARDIS I didn't think the monsters should be there.
Yeah.
And this one I'm sort of opposite. I think it would have been cool to have the first half of the episode basically them all being chased down by, like, say, the Doctor has picked up various species in his TARDIS and he sort of keeps them there sort of in recreations of their natural habitat, and they've broken loose.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, so I think that, monsters there could have worked. You could have had the Whisper Men getting killed off by them. It would have given Commander Strax something to do.
I never really understood, like, what their thing was. Like, so they work for the Great Intelligence and they can stop people's hearts.
I think they're sort of not really there. They're almost like holographic projections of the Great Intelligence,
okay.
And he can use them as vague bodies or something.
He can Mr. Smith his way on into them.
I don't think they're real. I don't think they're actually things.
Oh, that sucks. Well, no, they have to be things because they were fighting with everybody and they could stop your heart.
Yeah, they can sort of become solid, but they're not actually really quote-unquote things.
All right, good enough. I'm just happy today because so for the 50th anniversary they released either a reprint of the original that's long out of print or a new story for each one of the Doctors, and I was shelving in Sci-Fi this morning and we had the complete set, so I bought them.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I used my employee discount to do it.
Did you find out when the Criterion sale is on at your shop?
June. I'll ask Richard next time I'm in.
Excellent. I must buy some Criterion movies.
Yes.
I want to buy, like, Spartacus and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and a bunch of other ones.
See, now I'm just angry that now we have to wait until November. I'll be old by then.
Well, there's not that many episodes. Remember, there was like a 6-month wait between the Ponds going and then Clara coming?
Yeah, that's true.
We're getting 6 episodes of Doctor Who a season. Seasons are going over 2 years because of probably a mixture of budget and Stephen Moffat not feeling like writing that much.
Meh.
Well, he's also working on Sherlock and stuff too.
Okay, that's all right. I like Sherlock, so that's fine.
So,
but I do have to say though, okay, you know what? Like when he was like, "I did what I done because of peace and stuff." That's my John Hurt impression. And then the Doctor's like, "Yeah, whatevs." and goes away. And then he like turns around and the lightning is like, shh. It's like introducing John Hurt as the Doctor.
That was so very cheesy.
I don't care. I loved it. You have no soul. It was awesome. Shut up. I'm
The
American. I love stuff like that.
it was the caption. It looked like the start of a TV show.
I don't care. It was great.
Though the bits in the end there where you had Clara and the Doctor sort of messing around in this sort of vortex of just doctors running around and shit happening, that reminded me a lot of, I think it was called The Room with No Doors from the Seventh Doctor books, where, if I remember correctly, basically all of the Doctor's dead personalities after regeneration, they sort of live there in his subconscious, and they can communicate with each other, sort of like in Doctor Who thing, the Time Lords, their afterlife was called the Matrix. You uploaded your mind to the Matrix and you could live on. And it's pretty much what he did to River Song.
Why didn't he put her in the... Oh, the Matrix was already gone because Gallifrey was gone, I guess.
Pretty much. And The Room with No Doors, if I remember correctly, is basically like a matrix inside his head for the dead personalities, which then get uploaded. And I think they're uploaded as separate individuals to the Matrix. But, so the bit where with Clara and him sort of, with the other ones there and talking to different, talking to the facet of his personality, it reminded me of the Room with No Doors.
Although, if that's to be believed, either Paul McGann's been uncanonized, which I doubt is true, or he's actually the 12th Doctor. He's actually the 12th incarnation, but the 11th Doctor.
There's another possibility. Well, there's three other possibilities.
He was the original Doctor, and William Hartnell was the first regeneration.
That's another possibility. Another one is that he's a future Doctor.
Yeah, but the Doctor already knows him, though. Like, wouldn't it be forbidden for him to see... Well, I guess not, because the second Doctor was always running into the fifth Doctor. So.
Yeah, the second... Yeah, he ran into the sixth. It's the fifth Doctor and 10th Doctor met, and they made a plot point to the fact that the fifth Doctor remembered what happened when they met up. So, that's possibly the last incarnation. I doubt that. It's also possible that he is the 8th Doctor, same one as Paul McGann, just like 30 years older.
Oh yeah, that's true, if he went into the Time War and got all his guard and everything.
And there is the other possibility, which is what I was thinking.
He's the Master, sorry.
Now there's the possibility that I was thinking was happening while the episode was going, but it wasn't indicated to be the case, that the Great Intelligence went back and killed the 8th Doctor early, regenerating him into John Hurt, who became the 9th Doctor. And the 9th Doctor is... basically,
that's true, they never did find the Great Intelligence.
Yeah, the Great Intelligence could have changed history.
That's a good point.
And that he could actually be the rewritten 9th Doctor. So possibly what the 50th anniversary is going to be is try to end something to change history so John Hurt can regenerate into Christopher Eccleston. Possibly.
I can see that. Maybe Paul McGann is in that, and Ash will be happy.
Maybe, but without appearing in the stock footage, without appearing in the running past shots, poor Paul McGann. Okay, Paul McGann. I don't like Paul McGann's Doctor very much.
Oh.
His audios were okay, but...
Great, no, we're never going to have him on the show. Good job. No, I'm just kidding.
I really don't care for it. My Doctor listing goes something like this. The first tier is Patrick Troughton. Second is Colin Baker. Yay. Third is joint between John Pertwee, Tom Baker, and Sylvester McCoy. The tier under that is William Hartnell. Tier under that is Paul McGann and Peter Davison. Sorry, Matt Smith goes in with William Hartnell. Then you've got Peter Davison and Paul McGann. And then on the very bottom, you've got Eccleston and you've got Tennant. So, I don't really much care for Paul McGann. But yeah, the dude got shafted.
We should tweet at him and see if he's okay.
Well, he's fine. Okay. But they could have actually given him that part, and it probably... From how we're looking at this point...
Yeah, he could be all scarred and be like, I'm Paul McGann, except for not really. Although I do love John Hurt's voice, though.
It would have made perfect sense. At least from... We don't know what they're going to do, though, so maybe it'll make sense in retrospect.
Stephen Moffat moves in mysterious ways. That's what she said.
But they announced there's definitely... Matt Smith has been signed for the 8th season.
So he definitely comes back. I was all worried. I was like, great, we just got used to a new companion, now I gotta fucking get a new one.
So yeah, this episode, avoid it unless you've watched all the previous ones, because you're going to be fucking lost. Especially if you're a classic Doctor Who fan who doesn't watch the new show, just watch for the squee clips of the old doctors
Yeah,
rushing
you'll be
around and
like,
doing
I
stuff.
remember that time. And I like the idea that she has been, or versions of her have been. Well, then wait a second. If the versions of Clara that are born and live and die always to try to save the Doctor in some way, aren't really her. They're just quote unquote echoes and shadows of her. Who is the real Clara? Is the future Clara the real Clara, or is she an echo too?
No, the future Clara is an echo too. It's the one
No,
that
no,
she
no, no,
was.
no, not future. I mean like contemporary, like 2013 Clara.
Yeah, she's the original one.
Okay, all right, I was confused about that part.
I think what happened, they like superimposed Clara on people who are going to be born or something. I don't
No, but
know.
I meant is she quote unquote the real Clara as composed to future Dalek Clara and Victorian Clara?
I get the feeling that she's supposed to be. Yeah.
Okay, that settles that. Well, I do like that like her thing. I was like, oh really? When she was like, I was born to save the Doctor. I'm like, whatevs, babe. But then like that was technically literally true. Every time she is born again, just to save the Doctor, and I think that's kind of cool. It's
She's
like that audio adventure where like the the Sixth Doctor went crazy or merged with the Valiant or something happened, and then basically like Mel was like spent the equivalent. She had a special ring from the Time Lords. She basically spent the equivalent of several lifetimes, languishing in prisons or doing things and stuff and chasing the Doctor down, just because he's the Doctor and she had to save him. And like that's what it reminded me of, and I thought that was cool.
yeah. That was the only time when Mel was not the companion that most people wanted to melt. She was really terrible in the TV show. I'm glad that she got a moment to be decent. Now someone should really do this for Adric as well.
Yeah, apparently he was a whiny little snot that no one liked, and he was, horrible.
And
And even the
yeah,
Doctor was like, "Would you shut the fuck up?"
I'd like to see one like that for Dodo as well.
Who's that?
Dodo was a first Doctor companion. She only lasted for like 4 or 5 things, and then she was got rid of. She was last thing we saw her. She was hypnotized by the War Machines, and then she sort of just left the story. We never really found she never even had a goodbye.
They were
She
like, "What about
was
that companion?" He's like, "Don't worry about it. We're not going back."
she was just really disliked to everyone, so they're like, oh, let's just write her as quickly as possible.
But what will K9 have to? No, I'm just saying.
I don't know, but she was basically like trying, the very deliberate attempt at a hip and with it 1960s,
Oh,
teen, and I'm fine with her, but a lot of other people are not.
oh. Well, as much as we would like to go on and on and on and on about Doctor Who, and I'm sure that we technically could, it is time for the dictionary. Now, if you're just listening for your first time, if you've never listened to our show before, at the end we turn to the Oxford American Dictionary, which I have here trustily by my side. And honey, what page should I turn to?
114.
Okay. This dictionary's falling apart. And I'm not going to get a new one. Because this will be like the special Lesbian Talk dictionary. Okay, 1 or 2?
2.
Out of 16.
7.
1, 2, 3,
4, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7. Clarinet. Woodwind instrument with finger holes and keys.
Wow, Clara net with holes and keys. We could have totally had.
Would you stop that?
We could have done this like when Doctor Who was being aired.
I don't play the woodwind. I was a brass player, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do not care for wood.
Oh, what a funny joke that was. So anyway, we will talk about clarinets next time. Once again, next week's episode may be recorded on a different day. If I'm going to be in Phoenix, we'll have to see about that. But for right now, I've been
you guys won't notice because the uploads are what really matters to them.
Yeah, and I think another episode will be going up tomorrow because we had the one that was late that went up on Thursday. So hopefully, episode 21, Hipster Zombie Haters, will be going up tomorrow.
Well, it's already gone up for them if they're listening to this.
Time travel. You walk through the
Hipster
wounds of the Doctor's time, and you're
Hipster-
already hearing Lesbian Talk.
Hipster Zombie Haters. That's when we discuss. What do we discuss? Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
There's bits of an interview we did with Stuart Urban, and we discuss the Neil Gaiman episode that wasn't as good as the other Neil Gaiman episode.
but with a special guest. We're not going to tell you who that special guest is, but if you know what country we were in last time, you've probably guessed that already.
Yes. So, if you haven't listened to that episode, go back in time. If you have listened to that episode, I'm sorry for wasting your time.
Dun dun dun. But anyway, I'm the Omega, and she's been Diamanda Hagen before she has a chance to say she's been anyone else.